Oh boy, that's fantastic.
God.
This thing always knows when I need it. So it was good, food was good, family was good as all.
Yeah, see, this is funny because it's currently October 5th.
We have to be prepared, Caitie. We don't know when this is going to air.
I mean, yeah, we're doing this a bit early. I did. God, I hope
So
my Thanksgiving
sometimes
was
we'll-
good. Like, watch
we'll
me like
pull
die
back.
on Thanksgiving, and this is like a haunting
Oh
episode.
no. Oh God, don't say that. For those that don't know, we'll just let you peek behind the curtain. Sometimes we record these and we're not sure when we're going to air them. We just like to have them banked.
Yeah, Jordan.
And so I just thought in order to be
if I die
prepared.
during Thanksgiving, I give you permission. In fact, I would be upset if you don't publish it because it would just be so ironic.
Don't you dare say it. Don't you dare say it. Well, my Thanksgiving was great. Cowboys won. I'm saying that, hoping.
The
I'm
Cowboys
saying
haven't won a fucking game in decades, even though I know that's not true.
How dare you? How dare you?
dad-
I want to believe that my Cowboys are going to do well Thanksgiving.
My dad loved the Cowboys so much, and then after them losing so much, my dad fucking switched to baseball because he was so heartbroken.
Well, in Texas, we can't do that. We're loyal to our Cowboys through thick or thin.
See, Dad just can't handle it. He can't handle the heartbreak, so he went to the Pittsburgh Pirates because that's where his dad's from. So it's like he couldn't even go. At the
Rooting
same
for the
state.
Pirates.
I hear the Pirates aren't doing too great either. So it's poor Dad.
I'm not a baseball guy, but I know they can be up and down.
Yeah. So poor Daddy.
So anyway, Caitie, so how was your Christmas?
We just keep going later and later. I don't know.
We don't know. We don't know when this is gonna.
Yes, Jordan. How was your wedding? How did that go?
Oh shit! You're going way out into the future.
Yeah, really.
So, Caitie, congrats! You're a mother now.
I know, it's my fourth child. I'm so happy. I'm getting my tubes tied.
So, Caitie, how are you and Michael enjoying retirement?
Jordan, I hear you died. How's that happen?
Oh, that's fucking amazing. Wouldn't that be awesome if it was just like, so, Caitlin II, I worked with your mother for 50 years.
Oh, dope. Yeah, who are you? I've never heard of you.
Dope. I like how second you says dope.
I'd like to think my children keep on my speech patterns.
Whew. That's so... I was just going to do the holidays, but you took it to a whole nother level. That's genius.
Okay.
All right. We are ready to air this episode anywhere in the next 50 years. We are set.
Wherever we want, we'll just cut it there.
Whew. All right, folks. Well, today we're going to be talking about companions in the Mass Effect 1 specifically. We already have done Dragon Age, and so we're now jumping into Mass Effect, just kind of rating the companions.
Mm-hmm. So I kind of led the Dragon Age one, and I don't remember Mass Effect that well, so this is all you. Where are we starting? Where are we going?
Without further ado, we should jump right into it because the Dragon Age ones tend to take long. So, Kaidan, let's start with Kaidan Alenko. We'll go in.
No, okay, we.
Nah, we're not doing Jenkins. Jenkins gets a 1 on everything.
It's a 7 all around. Okay. Anyway.
Well, we will rate them, just to remind people, we will rate them on character overall, romance if they are romanceable, gameplay as far as how they affect your gameplay and their combat prowess, stuff like that, and then overall execution, which is more like the dialogue writing and the acting specifically.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go in order of when they join you on your journey, so we will be starting with Kaidan Alenko. I have probably a lot to say about Kaidan, but as far as how I number him, I'm actually not sure even as I'm speaking, so I'll just start by saying I like Kaidan. I like Kaidan a lot. Kaidan is one of those where I tend to defend Kaidan a lot because I know people think he's kind of generic. Some people think of him as boring. I always found that I liked Kaidan because Kaidan reminds me in some sense of myself and people that are my friends. You know, they're somewhat more cerebral. They kind of like to think logically, but they are emotional folks. They are in touch with their emotion. They're simple guys. Kaidan to me does not fall into that character of like he's trying to be so interesting and quirky, kind of the way some of the Andromeda and the Anthem characters are. Kaidan's not like that at all. Kaidan's just a normal guy. He's a military man. He's common sense. He follows orders and regulations, but he's also not he's not like a rah military guy. You know, he can kind of question orders also. I really like Kaidan for that reason. I'm not sure yet what I would give him for a number, but just overall, I like the fact that he's a regular dude. I don't know. Give me your general thoughts on Kaidan.
Well, you had to make this awkward and say it reminds you of you, because I'm gonna like totally bash this guy.
Oh, go for it.
I should say I killed Kaidan on the big choice of Ashley versus Kaidan, because I liked Ashley a lot more. Kaidan, I just found like, what's the phrase? Milk toast? Like it's
there you go.
Kind of just boring. Like I know there was like some rapport, you know, especially since I played a female shepherd, that, you know, there's some sexual tension there, and you know, we were always fighting, we were always, you know, hand in hand, we had a history together, and like it just, I don't know, it just didn't capture me in any way. Like I just kind of found him a little boring. Like he I guess he's an important character because he's on your side from the very beginning, because like you have a history, but like I just, he does not stand out to me between any of the other characters in Mass Effect 1. Like, at least with Ashley, if I had to sum up her character, she's bitchy space racist. You know, cool.
Oh.
Kaidan, I'm struggling. I'm really struggling. I think he had something to do with, he was really super cool with the I'm blanking on the ability part. Like biotics, there you go. I'm like, he was super cool with biotics, and he was really special with that, but like I was like, biotic boy, like, I don't know.
Well, he's a powerful biotic in some sense. He's also one of the earlier, because I guess by canon he's probably he's in his 30s. So he got retrofitted with L2 implants, which within the Mass Effect lore, the L2 implants had a higher ceiling for sort of the amount of charge that they could hold. But they ended up having more side effects. So he gets really bad migraines, which can end up making him more sensitive. Just, you know, you get migraines. But he also has sort of higher, I can't remember what it's called, higher peaks or something like that. I don't know. I thought that was interesting as well. He was he has that sort of thing where he was trained. He was part of some of the first human biotics to be trained militarily. So he has sort of a view on his biotic abilities through that lens also. And some of his relationships with, you know, Turians, who are some of the people that trained him when he was in bat training. You know, he's probably not as suspicious of the alien races as Ashley is, even though he has more of a reason to be.
I get that. At the same time, I just felt so underwhelmed with him. I would definitely rank him the lowest of anyone, at least Mass Effect 1.
Ooh, I like the difference between us here, though.
Yeah, unlike Dragon Age, we're mostly agreeing. But yeah, I guess I would. This is our Zevran here, maybe. So I would give him like. I'm not gonna say he's the worst with a 1, but I am gonna give him like a 2. I think.
Ooh, that hurts my heart, but I get where you're coming from. I'm not mad at you. A lot of people feel this way about Kaidan.
What would you give him then?
I'm gonna give him a 5.
Okay.
I quite like Kaidan. To me, he is one of those characters that I'm endeared to. I just feel, again, I'm kind of restating the points that I already stated, but just for posterity, I think there's something about Mass Effect 1 across not just the Mass Effect franchise, but across all Mass Effect games where they shot for a naturalistic tone. Yeah. I don't feel like they were going for a blockbuster movie. I don't feel like they were going for super memorable, you know, video gamey characters. And I feel like if you take a crew of people, there's going to be a Kaidan Alenko who's sort of in the mix of the most important events of the galaxy, but he's really just a normal guy. Mm-hmm. I'm a sucker for that shit. It's the same reason why I like Blackwall. It's the same reason I just like that regular guy shit. Granted, Blackwall actually has technically way more interesting wrinkles to him, but
and he's cuter.
And he's got like a dark history, all that stuff.
Now, if Katie grew a beard, no, I'm kidding.
I said we know where Katie's.
I will say, because I've only never done one playthrough of Mass Effect. I would wonder if my opinion would change if he survived into Mass Effect 3. For me, probably not. But I at least want to give the benefit of the doubt of like, this is only Kaidan up till the one mission where you get to kill him. After that, like
because we plan to talk about the characters in the games that they actually appear. I'll save my comments for him for Mass Effect 3, but yeah. I'd give him a 5.
Okay.
Now, I will say, gameplay-wise, that's another story. As much as I would really like to just, like, love my boy and keep him... I keep him with me for story and character. Gameplay-wise, he's probably one of the worst. In fact, as far as Mass Effect 1 is concerned, he might be the worst.
I'll say this. I honestly don't remember ever bringing Kaidan to anything.
Yeah.
Maybe for that reason.
Now, throughout the series, is he the worst? He's not great. He's got to be a 2 or a 3, to be honest. It's tough for me to say a 2, but somebody's got to be a 2. Fuck. It hurts me, Kaidan, but I got to give him a 2 on gameplay. He's very squishy. His biotic offensive abilities aren't great. There's a tiny little saving grace in that if you really focus on upgrading his barrier, he can defend himself. He doesn't die as quick. His overload ability is nice, but Garrus has overload. Tali has overload. I think even for some reason Liara has overload in Mass Effect 1. I'm trying to remember. No, she has electronics.
See, I'm going to trust my past self because I don't really remember bringing Kaidan anywhere, and I'm assuming that was for a reason, so I'm going to echo year 2.
Yeah, so even Liara has overload. Yeah, I've got to give him a 2. It's just not great. Mm-hmm. He has some biotic abilities that are salvageable. He could be a 3, but I'm going to give him a 2.
Okay. Now, the romance. Now, as much as I don't like Kaidan, I actually went through the steps to romance Kaidan in Mass Effect 1 because I kind of liked the story of, like, Shepard kind of having a love affair with him and then choosing him to die just because he was the best candidate.
Oh, crap.
And then moving on to Garrus, which is my storyline. And I kind of like that a lot. And I can totally see what... Also, he's the only male option. You know, I kind of have to give him some credit for that. But, so I guess, like... for Mass Effect 1 romances, I didn't hate it. So I even though I didn't play it through the completion, I guess I would vote it like a maybe I'm gonna say 3.
Okay, not bad.
Yeah.
Also, I gotta cut this out, but I forgot I was supposed to be keeping track. I gave Kaidan a 5 overall. You gave him a 2?
I gave him a 2. Yeah.
Gave him a 2. Okay.
Do you want me to do it, or you good, or?
Nah. I'll do it.
Okay.
Since I said I would. We both gave him a 2 on gameplay.
Yeah. Then romance, I think I just said a 3, or was it? It was a 3.
Yeah. You gave him a 3.
Yeah. So what would you give him?
For the Mass Effect 1, see, that's the thing too. Like his thing can continue all the way through to 3. For 1, I think it's fine. I don't think it's standout. I tended to like Ashley's a little bit more for various reasons that I'll talk about when we get to Ashley. I'm almost inclined to agree with you as far as the 3, and because even 4, there's just not a lot of standout there. And even though I like his performance in those scenes, I kind of feel like maybe that should really go under performance.
Okay.
Yeah, in that case, I'm going with 3.
All right.
Okay, so let's talk execution-wise then. I like Raphael Sarge. I think his voice is really sort of just relaxing. Again, I know some people go to boring. I go to relaxing. I always enjoyed my conversations.
Has an interesting voice. Like I have never heard a voice like that before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll
it's good.
That'll definitely win him bonus points for me.
Yeah. It definitely goes to texture. Like his voice is kind of distinct in that way.
Yeah.
His dialogue's not super, again, it's not super colorful. For some people, I know that goes to boring. To me, it's a skill to write a character that on paper isn't trying to say all of these really sort of unique things, but when you take them as a whole, their history, the performance, their views on things, it's still a distinct character. I would give him, I feel like 5 is a bit too high, but I'll give him a 4.
I'm in between a 3-4, so I think I'm going to give him a low 4, but still a 4. Because like I have watched some of the Kaidan romance scenes. I do think it's well acted, so I'll say that. So I guess we both agree on the 4 there.
Okay, so it's kind of weird then. Kaidan is more than the sum of his parts to me then when I look at my individual scores for him versus what I gave him overall, because I gave him a 5 overall. I'm not sure what that is, but I'm not going to change it because
It is what it is.
I don't know. Something about Kaidan. I just like the dude.
I get that, because like when we were talking about some of the Dragon Age characters, like I like this character more than the rating I gave them. Like Zevran. He was robbed. So yeah, who's next?
So let's talk about Ashley next, because Ashley's Ashley. These are the two that everybody kind of tends to hate in a weird way. I like both of them a lot more than I think the average person does. The big thing with Ashley is the whole she's a space racist, which I don't actually think is an accurate assessment of Ashley. Also, I think that her romance is a lot stronger than people give it credit for. I like Ashley because, again, in some sense, she feels like a naturalistic character, a character that would absolutely exist in the Mass Effect universe, not as a hero, not as a major, as a person that has some valuable experience, but the events of Mass Effect 1 are really her first big time mission. Like Garrus and Rex kind of come in as more veterans, like they've kind of had some crazy stories already happen that you get to hear about from them. Whereas you notice in your conversations with Ashley and Kaidan, they are talking about formative experiences, but they're talking about formative experience as far as how they grew up, their family, what school was like, what their initial training was like. Rex and Garrus talk to you about mercenary missions, big cases that they had in CSEC. So it's kind of a difference there. I like Ashley for that reason. In the same way that I like Kaidan, is that she feels like a real person who has a history, but you're also getting to watch her go on her first real big mission.
Yeah. Ashley was definitely, like, I went in thinking that, people don't like this character, so I probably won't either. I actually ended up really liking her. I liked that she had pink armor. Like that kind of stuff. Like, I'm a tough girl, but I still like pink and poetry. Like, something like that I found very endearing. Like I just mentioned, I really like that she, like, really can quote poetry, and like that was something that really interested in her. The fact that she had an interest that she was able to talk about, I really liked. And the fact that she wasn't afraid to call bullshit, I appreciated a lot of the times. Like, she was definitely not afraid to speak her mind. Which, I think the Mass Effect characters, there's a lot that do that, but that's what I remember of Ashley. So I guess I would rate her probably pretty high. I don't know if I want to go a 5 or a high 4, to be quite honest. I might go. I think I'm just gonna pull the trigger on a 5.
Ooh, I like it. This is much higher than I expected from you for Ashley.
Well, it wasn't a hard decision between Kaidan and Ashley, because I didn't really like Kaidan. I thought he was boring.
Kill Kaidan every time.
I kind of really liked Ashley, so I was like, fuck, man, sorry. Like, get more interesting, scrub. I will say I was kind of disappointed in her development in the other series, like the next in the series. But at least where she was in Mass Effect, I do have very fond memories of her. So, and there's the whole thing about the space races thing, like that. It made sense, so it didn't bother me, if that makes sense. Like, not that I agreed with what she was saying, but like I get why she would do that. So like, it didn't bother me. You know what I mean?
I agree. No, look, I think her views on the other species, that is not a detriment to her character. I can understand how people can find it unsavory or they disagree, but that's not a bad character or a poorly written character. You actually have to, in my opinion, you have to rate her even higher because of that, because the writing behind that character is being given depth and it's being given a complication. Yeah. I think that her viewpoints are a little bit myopic and flawed if I was judging them as a person, but giving a character flaws makes them a better character in fiction, not a worse character.
Yes.
So I give her a 5 also overall. In large, well, at least in part because of the fact that she has those flaws, and her flaws are not treated in a caricature type of way. She is not a space racist. She has problems. She has suspicion. You could even say that her views are somewhat problematic,
Yeah.
but that does make her an interesting character.
Yep. No.
I'm giving her a 5 overall.
All right, we tie.
Romance-wise.
See, I don't know anything about her romance, to be quite honest. I like you didn't vote on Alistair. I'm not going to vote on Ashley. Because I honestly do not know what happens.
It's all on me for the romance. It's interesting. The only reason why I'm sort of divided between like a 4 and a 5, which I know might seem weird because I gave the overall character a 5, is that a lot of her, like the actual friendship and romance path isn't divergent enough. Like you follow along a lot of the same path, except eventually you can kind of throw in the, hey, I kind of like you thing. And then there's really only a couple more conversations that are actually different. Mm-hmm. So it's weird. In a way, I'm going to take the whole Ashley experience, even though part of it falls into the friendship category. I'm going to take all of that as part of the romance, and I'm going to give it a 5.
Okay.
Just because, I think it owes to the naturalism that comes out really well in Mass Effect 1, where, you know, you work with Ashley. She joins your crew. She's been through something traumatic. You express empathy. She expresses her grief in a way that I feel isn't overt. She plays it a little bit close to the chest. She kind of tries to put on a tough front, which I think it does make sense naturalistically. And then the path of progression that you have with camaraderie, friendship, and eventually romance it's a very naturalistic one. I feel like I'm going to say that word a million times in this episode, but it's like you talk about work, you talk about the missions. She makes a reference to a poem that she likes, and you're like, oh, you quote Tennyson. That's interesting. She's like, yeah, I like poetry. So you talk a little bit about interest, hobbies. Well, where'd you get into that? I got it from my dad. Oh, interesting. You talk about your family. She tells you some really like heartwarming and stories that are clearly very close to her about her sisters and defending her sisters and how much family means to her. So now you start to talk about values. And then all of a sudden you realize, potentially, yes or no, there may be this compatibility between your Shepard and Ashley, and now there's a basis for a romance. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit classic, it's a little bit on the nose, but I like that shit, and I think it's very competently executed. So I'll give her a 5 on the romance.
All right.
What do you think on execution? I guess it's mainly talk acting.
I don't think her actress did a bad job, but I don't think it's memorable. You know what I mean? So
I do, yeah.
I think the dialogue was well written, but I don't. I think the voice acting was it was all right. Yeah, it did fine. So I think I might actually go with 3.
Okay, no, I don't think you're wrong on that. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I would go quite as low as a 3. I'll go with like 4, only because I do quite like the acting. In particular, when she tells the stories about her sisters, like I remember those. I remember those when she talks about her sister sort of having one of her early boyfriends or someone who thought was her boyfriend as far as her sister. Mm-hmm. And there's this line where she says like he goes to hit her, like her sister had martial arts training, blah, blah, blah. And there's a line where like this guy, this fucking high school kid gets so mad he tries to hit her, and the line is so-and-so, my sister moved out of the way, and all of a sudden she just wasn't there. Something about the delivery of that line, I always remember it. I remember her telling that entire story, and I think the actress does a phenomenal job. I'll give her a 4 because other parts she does become a little bit forgettable, but I'll go with a 4.
Okay, I can respect that.
Gameplay wise, do you remember enough? Do you have any thoughts on it?
I remember liking bringing Ashley. In my memory, I used to bring Tally and Ashley a lot, and I don't know if that was because I wanted to bring the girl squad or if she was a good tank. So
she is a phenomenal tank.
Okay.
I will say that.
That's probably what my reasoning was then. Because I remember a lot. Tally had the little drone that I liked. I'm pretty sure that was in the first game. I know it was in the other games. And then I probably would have gone for tanky, which would have been Ashley. So, for a number, I might go 5.
Okay, we're gonna go. I'm sitting here trying to think about my own number, and that is also kind of interesting to me. I don't want to go too high because I'm like, it is possible to rock, Garrus and Rex through the entire thing of Mass Effect 1. You don't have to bring Ashley. Rex makes a great tank. You could make an argument that they're sort of neck and neck for that. And so I don't want to go too crazy, but at the same time, I don't want to go too low because she's fucking phenomenal. She is a great sniper. Again, so is Garrus, but I'm going to go 6 because I think that she is just so often been a staple of my Mass Effect 1. It was just sad because I don't think she's as effective in 3, but I think that in Mass Effect 1, she's very often a staple.
It's because her hair gets in her eyes in 3.
Oh, we got to save that for the Mass Effect 3 episode. Talk about the hair.
I was not thrilled with that. Anyway.
Okay, so next up, I imagine we're going to see some very high scores on this one. Let's talk about Garrus.
I thought you were going to say Tally, but yeah, no, Garrus is a good one too. Garrus, it's fucking Garrus, man. He was great. I don't know how else to say it. He, I ended up romancing him in Mass Effect 2 and 3, and I think he was great then. And I remember playing Mass Effect 1 going, why can't I romance this motherfucker now? I'm ready. Let's go. Let's do it. I liked his kind of cocky personality. I liked, obviously, the voice. I liked that he was kind of a cop or CSEC or whatever. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go full throttle on Tally. So I guess I would do 6 for Garrus.
Oh shit, you're going up there with Garrus. I don't disagree. Obviously, I love Garrus as well. I love the cop aspect of it. I feel like Garrus could be the protagonist of his own series in a slightly different world. If things really went to shit and there was no Commander Shepard, Garrus would not sit by and let this shit happen. His sniping ability, I mean, that's kind of more of a gameplay thing, but it's fucking cool that he's a sniper. Mm-hmm. I don't want to get into talking about performance too much, but just, his backstory, his dad was a cop. You get to influence Garrus pretty well, even though when you really think about it, the overall payoff in Mass Effect 1 is just kind of some slightly different dialogue options, sort of after the Salion, Dr. Salion personal quest. But I just like the idea of it. You're pushing him more towards being this aggressive sort of bad cop or more Paragon-aimed good cop. And I feel like you're saying something about your own character as well in the pursuit of Saren and doing that. So I think Garrus allows for a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah.
If I'm thinking about him throughout the entire pantheon, though, of Mass Effect games and Dragon Age games, because again, I'm taking this number as how does he rank against all BioWare companions? This is interesting to me.
Because
I know it's really high, but I don't know if it's a 7.
So you're going to go 6 with me then?
It's either a 6 or a 7. I guess in my head, I just expected to give him a 7.
Uh-huh.
But I'm but what really separates him as being that 7? I think maybe by the time we get to Mass Effect 3, it might actually be a different score. But for Mass Effect 1, I think a lot of people have to remember, if you haven't played it in a while, the actual substance of the conversations
isn't much.
Right. I think we remember it as more than it is. So I'm going to give him a 6.
All
right. So let's say, well, he's not romanceable. So there's that.
This one, yeah.
Not in this one.
Alas.
Then what about gameplay-wise?
Gameplay-wise, I remember bringing him quite a lot too. So I'm going to rank him pretty high. Because I remember wanting to romance him. So my main party was Tally, Garrus, or Ashley. Everyone else I don't remember using a lot, other than personal quests. So I'm gonna I think I'm gonna give Garrus the same ranking I gave Ashley, which I think was a 5, if I remember correctly. Is that right?
You gave Ashley a 5, yeah, for gameplay.
I'll do the same for Garrus.
I'm gonna go with a 5 on Garrus, only because I liked him, and there are many times where my favorite overall crew is Garrus and Rex. Mm-hmm. But that's only because Rex can tend to tank effectively enough. Mm-hmm. And depending on my character, I'm also kind of tanky, or I'm a bit of a controller with a biotic build, or even a tech build. You kind of have to protect Garrus because he's a bit squishy.
He is. Yeah.
If anything, I'm probably being generous by giving him a 5, because I think it's even possible that you can make the argument that he's a 4. But if you take into consideration, he also satisfies your tech stuff, so you don't have to bring Tally if you just want basic, like, say, overload stuff. To sort of drop people's shields. So I will say that he is a 5 for me also. And then I would say for execution, I really, really fucking love his voice.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of the most unique voices out there.
I would give that one a 6, easy. Now, I will say I remember him more in Mass Effect 2 and 3, so I don't know if he had the same smoothness and, like, comfortability, if that's a word, in the character as he did in Mass Effect 1, so I will say that might be a flaw. So but from my memory of it, I would give it a 6.
Yeah, I don't disagree, and this is another one where I think in the later games, his score is actually going to go up, because I do think he's better in the later games, but I'm going to join you and say giving him a 6. I think that the voice acting is fantastic. I think that his dialogue is good. I just feel like some of the scenarios, he's not given as much to chew on yet.
Yeah.
In Mass Effect 1, and so it's sort of like the voice is phenomenal. I just wish there was more of it and maybe some slightly more, a little more Dr. Salian instead of just that one mission.
Yeah. I will say that's what's hard about doing Mass Effect 1 characters is because, like, the whole trilogy has most of them in there, and I remember more of, like, the 2 and 3 than I do of 1, so I feel like I'm really judging kind of based on that, especially with Garrus, because, like, the things I remember most about Garrus are from Mass Effect 2 and 3. I don't think other than meeting him, I can't really remember anything that Garrus says, and maybe that should reflect in my scores, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I remember how, like, he talks about his father. I remember that. He talks about Dr. Salian. I remember that. There are separate conversations he has about Saren that I remember. Him just kind of talking about C-Sec. So I remember, like, a few different things with Garrus, but you're right. I think that his most memorable stuff comes once he gets his face blown off.
Yeah. So I'll say that. What did you give him again?
For overall or for the execution?
Execution.
6.
Okay. So we tied.
Yeah. God, you're right. There's so much fewer for Mass Effect.
Yeah, I know.
Than there are for, which I'm not complaining. We're already 30 minutes into this.
That's true.
Like, it goes by quick. All right. So back half, I think we might start to see some differentiation on this one, but let's talk about Rex.
Okay.
Rex, I fucking love. I think that Rex is a goddamn genius of a character. I think in particular there's a video that I did contrasting the introductory scene of Rex versus Drac in Mass Effect Andromeda.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Drac in Mass Effect Andromeda. I think he might be the strongest character of that group.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a real difference in the subtlety and the nuance in which Rex is played with. Rex is a bruiser. Rex is, he likes to headbutt people. He's a tough Krogan. But as far as Krogan go, he's one of the most cerebral. He plans things. He's a leader.
Yeah.
He's smart. When you see the way that he handles C-Sec in that opening scene, part of it is the fact that he's physically intimidating, but mostly it's the fact that he's banking on the fact that he knows how Citadel politics work. He knows the rules. He knows the law. He knows what he can get away with. And so he's kind of throwing his weight around, but more than anything, he's savvy. He is a veteran mercenary. He knows how things work. He doesn't just solve problems with the barrel of a gun. Mm-hmm. But he fucking can if he needs to. And he could beat the shit out of everything that moves. I fucking love that about his character. He has a history. He's not probably, especially when you talk about how long Krogan live. He's definitely the oldest character out of the entire crew for Mass Effect 1. And even relatively speaking, he's probably closer to middle age than anyone else by the time the events of Mass Effect 1 come along. So he kind of carries that with him. I don't know. General thoughts for you on Rex?
I know I liked Rex, and I know I found him funny, and I know Michael really loves him. After that, I can't remember much. From Mass Effect 1, at least. Mass Effect, I think he comes back in 3, and he has that big part in the final Tachanka quest. I remember that a lot. I remember trusting him a lot and kind of thinking of like not quite the mentor character, but like if you needed one, he could be there. I don't know how to describe it better than that. Because he did have a lot of experience under his belt. But at the same time, just for whatever reason, his character in Mass Effect 1 has slipped my memory completely. So I guess I'm going to trust my brain and say, like, I have fond memories, but nothing stuck from that game. So I guess I'm going to give it a 4.
Okay. No, that is perfectly fine just based on memory, I think.
Yeah.
In some sense, even though I do remember Win, I think maybe my Win rating back to the Dragon Age episode was maybe based on some of the same thing, is that parts of it just slipped away. I'm going to go a lot higher on Rex. Again, not even necessarily disagreeing with how you rate him, but Rex. Rex can part ways with you. When you get to Vermeer, you have this huge, it's one of the most memorable parts of Mass Effect 1 where Rex feels so strongly about the potential for a cure to the genophage that he's willing to break ways with you, and you can end up having to kill him.
Yep. I remember that.
This is a huge thing with Rex. It's one of the standout moments in Mass Effect, in the Mass Effect franchise, and I would argue in Bioware games, period. I mean, it's not the first time in a Bioware game that you can kill a companion, but it's one of the most powerful, and it's rooted in such a good reasoning. It could also be after you've already helped him with his family quest and retrieving his family armor. I like the fact that Rex, there's one of these complaints that I have in RPGs where the reason why someone is with you is because they're with you. That's the storyline, and you need to have companions. And Rex is not guilty of that. Like, Rex makes a deal with you because he has a contract to bring in Saren, and he has, again, it goes to his savvy and how smart he is to realize that, like, well, I'm going to team up with you. You're not going to get a cut of my bounty because you're technically still Alliance. You're doing your job. You can't take a cut of my bounty, but being with you is going to make it easier for me to do my job, and I still get all the pay. Right? So, like, he's got this really self-interested reason for joining Shepard, and it's not just because you're the hero and he's following you. He's doing it for his own reasons. All of that put together, all of the depth of him caring about the genophage, caring about the Krogan, the fact that he has all of this history, the fact that he met Saren at one point before you ever did on that one side job that he tells you about. I think Rex is one of the best characters in any BioWare thing ever, so I give him a 7.
Wow, okay. This is kind of the opposite of the Win situation, almost.
Almost, yeah, it is a bit.
Oh, God. Okay, now I respect that. I respect your reasoning. Yeah, I guess for me, his main things didn't really stick until later. So I think I don't think he's a companion ever again, is he?
Not unless you count DLC in Mass Effect 3.
Yeah, and I don't think I did that. So yeah, I guess, where are we rating him? Maybe Mass Effect 3. I think my score would be higher, but for right now, that is where it is.
Yeah, he briefly joins you in Citadel DLC, but it's not like a full-fledged thing. It's just really kind of the couple missions in the arena thing. Gameplay-wise, he's also badass as fuck. He has a biotic. He's got very good biotic abilities. He is arguably the best tank. It's between him and Ashley. And he can use all the weapons.
Yeah.
He's basically a soldier, biotic, tank. If you upgrade his abilities, he does berserk and actually charge at characters with his barrier up when he's low. It's fucking phenomenal. He's one of the coolest ones. I think he is I would say he's the best Krogan companion across any of the Mass Effect ones. I'm going to give him at least a 6. God, do I want to give him a 7? I'm trying to think of, like, because Krogan are so badass, and yet as much as I love Grunt and as much as I love Drac, is there ever the potential of a Krogan that is fulfilled more so than in Mass Effect 1 with Rex?
I mean, I guess I would vote probably a 5, because I do remember him being very useful, but I just didn't build my party that way, so I guess I didn't use him that much. So that's where I'm coming from. But I from what you're sounding like, you are selling him as quite the badass companion. gameplay wise.
He's one of the best tanks ever, and he just fucking survives. Like, it's just so hard to kill Krogan, and he's a great example of that. And his offense with biotics gets pretty insane. Fudging A. I didn't expect to go this high with him on gameplay. I'm going to give him a 7 on gameplay
yeah.
also.
Okay.
How you feeling? Did you say 5?
I think I did, yeah.
Okay.
Now, what about execution? I remember his voice probably the best about anything, and like the classic Shepherd. So I would honestly give him a 6 for that, because I think that's because they didn't just do wise old guy voice. They did kind of a crank, like I can't really say what stuck out about it for me, but I did think it worked really well. Maybe that's post processing or whatever, but I think the actor did a good job.
Yeah, he's tough. He's a gruff character, and he's just a bit cantankerous.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe cantankerous before his time, because even though he is old as far as like the number of years that he's been alive, I think he's about middle-aged. He's not actually old for a Krogan.
Mm-hmm.
And yet he comes off slightly cantankerous. He's a bit dismissive of Shepard and some of the other people because they're younger. Stephen Barr, of course, does the voice of Rex. Mm-hmm. I like him. I like him a lot. I think he lands that perfect spot of like, he's old enough to be your mentor, but he kind of doesn't want to. he gives you some advice on how you might want to deal with Saren and just kind of stuff generally. But he's like, look, I'm not your mentor. Okay. I'm a bounty hunter. I'm here to do my thing. We're working together. He's not eager to be your friend, which is one of the things that I actually like about Rex again. Mm-hmm. And the writing I feel is strong throughout. I can't give it a 7 only because I feel like at certain times the voice itself does land in the same place a little bit. Like it's kind of a meme as far as like the, Rex, Shepard, that kind of thing. But it's more than just that moment. Some of his voice does land kind of in the same place a little too often. I'm going to go ahead and give him a 6. It's not anything major to detract from, but it's not quite a 7.
All right. I respect that.
God damn, so Rex fucking making out like a bandit.
Yeah, he really is.
He's quite high. I don't know. I feel like he's not quite Morgan as far as the ratings, and our next character I think might pass him up, but we'll see what happens. Let's talk about your girl, Tali. I know you were waiting for this one.
I love Tali so much. So yeah, Tali's my girl. She's probably easily my favorite Mass Effect character. I know she surpasses quite many Dragon Age characters because I feel like it's one of the few characters that like I resonate with a lot. Also, she's purple, and I like purple. I don't know, but anyway, but no, I would definitely rate Tali super high because like for me, I loved her character so much, and it was very relatable for like where I am, especially at the time I was playing it. And I like the storyline of, like, she has to go out in the world and prove herself, and so she wants to help her people, and she ends up helping quite a lot. Like, I think that's a really nice little storyline. And I like how she's, like, willing to throw away, which this is kind of later down in the series, but, like, throw away her reputation and really becomes one with the Normandy because she knows it's the right thing to do, and I really respect that. And I just really like her character. It's, like, this cute, quirky, but, like, she knows her shit really well. So yeah, I now that being said, like, I don't know how much of this is me loving, Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3 Tali and Mass Effect 1 Tali. Because again, Mass Effect 1, like, I think it was definitely the roughest of the three for me. It definitely, like, it was kind of a slog to get through for me. I remember liking Tali a lot in the first one, and then I fell in love with Tali in the last couple of games. So sure. I almost feel like Tali is eventually going to get a perfect score from me, but I don't know if this Tali is. You know what I mean?
It's exactly like the Garrus thing.
Yeah. So I would definitely give her, because to be honest, I don't, other than her first quest that you get for her, I don't remember what she does in Mass Effect 1.
You're right. You're actually right about that.
Yeah, so I'm going to give her a 5, which hurts my heart, and Mass Effect 1. Mass Effect 2 and 3, we're going to go through the roof. But for right now, I think she's this Tally isn't the Tally I fell in love with. It is a Tally I like, though.
Yeah. And by the way, like your memory on that is spot on. Sometimes I have to pause and think, oh yeah, like as far as her quote unquote personal quest, you can kind of give her the one Geth component that she needs for her pilgrimage, but that's not even a separate mission like Garrus and Rex's is. Yeah. So that's kind of it. Now, there are many long conversations with Tally. This is where Tally really shines, right? The hum of the Normandy engines and the glow behind her and just that voice and her telling you about how she grew up and what the flotilla is like and all of these different things. This is what really endears me to Tally. She is given a lot more to do, and she's given, especially in 2 with the whole Cerberus angle. We'll talk about that when we do that episode, but she definitely gets better as stuff goes on. I think that she could have been given a little bit more to do. I just think that her initial connection to the main story, like how you actually recruit her in the beginning when you're in the Citadel, is really cool. Like, again, she has sort of a reason for being there. Yes, she wants to come along because of her pilgrimage, but also her pilgrimage had already put her through her own, let's say, initiative. She already got into the center of the events by sort of, getting into it, so to speak. So yeah, I like Tally a lot. I do think that I will rate Tally higher also in the later games. I'm going to go slightly higher than you did with a 6.
Okay.
Just because... again, this is something we've talked about before. In Bioware games, sometimes characters have the tendency to be just the standard representation of their group, right? So their class, their order, their race, etc. And Tally almost does that, except when she talks about her father and when she talks about sort of his importance within the Admiralty Board for the Quarians, she is a little bit subversive. Like, she likes being a Quarian, she's proud of being a Quarian, but simultaneously she gives you the view of perhaps what some of the shortcomings are of her people. And especially early on, I think that's really impressive because she doesn't, in my opinion, she doesn't fit into being just the standard Quarian. Now, that's seen even more in Mass Effect 2, where you see her sort of at odds with the Admiralty Board, but it's still there, and for that reason, I bump her up a little bit higher to a 6.
Okay.
I mean, again, she's not romanceable in 1, which is probably a real missed opportunity, but gameplay-wise, what did you think?
I brought her everywhere because, I remember bringing her many places, and I remember in later games I brought her everywhere because I love the little robot she has. That's in Mass Effect 1, right?
No. I think that starts in 2.
If that starts in 2, that changes my score, and I couldn't remember if it was in 1 or 2. Hold on. Because I remember loving that little robot and then me getting one as well, and then the both of us just having these little robot things. that was our dream team. 3 people and 2 robots.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, that starts in 2.
Yeah, I'm looking at her wiki and it looks like that does start in 2. All right, so that changes my
Again, she will be higher in 2 and 3. Because the drone is phenomenal, especially if you do a tech build and you've got 2. It's hilarious against the Geth.
Now, I do remember her hacking a lot too. That was in 1, right?
Yes, the AI hacking. And again, like the main reason to bring Tally is because you're fucking fighting the Geth all the time. And with AI hacking, it's like, fuck your face, Geth. Like the Colossus is going to be fighting their own people. It's great.
Yeah, so I remember her bringing a lot for hacking and a droid, which apparently didn't happen till 2. So without the droid, I'm probably going to give her probably a 6 because that hacking was pretty useful if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's high up for sure. Again, I'm going to let my subjectivity reign through here a little bit. I totally see the 6, and I can see that if you're bringing her along all the time, you're upgrading her, and that's like part of your team build strategy. I can totally see why you would put that in there. I'm going to put her at a 5 only because I don't know. I didn't do it as much. I've had lots of playthroughs of Mass Effect. I do enjoy it when I do it. For some reason, I don't know if it's just how responsive and how active gameplay feels in Mass Effect 2 and 3. It just doesn't feel as cool in Mass Effect 1. I know that's kind of a crap explanation.
I mean, yeah.
But yeah, I give her a 5. I still like it a lot. Again, like 5 is still high for me as far as a score. I'll probably see that be higher in 2 and 3 because of the drone also.
Do love that drone. Now the performance, the execution of it. Again, maybe this is a 2 or 3 thing, but I thought like I can't imagine Tali being voiced by anybody else. I cannot tell you who voiced her because I'm not really well versed in the voice actors of Mass Effect. But like whatever accent she does, it's sort of like a Russian-ish accent. It's not quite, but it's like in that vicinity. Like it definitely sounds alien enough, and it sounds pleasing as well. And I think the actress, in my memory at least, she does very well in like keeping that consistent. Maybe that's also just her actual voice, but that would be very surprising to me. But yeah, I guess I would rate it as I guess I would rate it as a 6 because I remember just thinking she sounded very cute, and also like at least later in the series, I know the actress does very well with it. I can't remember what she does in 1 though. So I don't know if she's rougher around the edges.
Yeah, Ash Shroka, who's credited as Liz Shroka in 2 and 3, is the actress. Again, phenomenal. I agree with you. I'm not sure if it's like, it almost sounds like a blend of like Eastern European with Near Eastern. For the accent, it's totally unique. It's totally distinctive. She starts to introduce us to like, Korean language terms very fluidly. She sounds nerdy in like in an oddly human way, but it's also a distinctly Korean thing. I'm gonna go with you on a 6. It's quite good, and yeah, just all of her dialogue. It always rings true. It always rings unique. There's nothing about her performance that is aged poorly. Like if you go back and even do Mass Effect 1, like it still sounds fresh. It still sounds believable. Yeah, long conversations with Tali have just always been one of my favorite things.
Right, I looked up the actress, Ash Shroka. Mass Effect is easily her biggest credit.
She hasn't done much. Yeah, it's really good.
The only other thing I've ever heard of is Walker, Texas Ranger.
Whoa.
And she was like in 1 episode.
Probably a child on that.
Yeah, 1997. How old is she? She's born in 1981. So yeah, she was.
There you go.
Very old. Apparently, she's in a new game coming out. It says it's called RK Endgame, and looking up on Steam, it says release date 2019, and that's it. I'm like, you might better hurry up on that, son. It's a little late in the year for that.
Apparently, another one of those came out in 2014. 2 of them, one in 2014, one in 2015.
Oh, it's written by Greg Rucka. Oh,
how interesting.
All right. I'd never even heard of this. The pictures make me go iffy on it, but I don't know, maybe that's something you like the voice of Tali, something to look into.
Indeed.
All right. Anyway, so yeah, what's next?
Well, we only got one left, and I'm not even sure how this is going to go. I imagine it's going to be Divergent. Let's talk about Liara.
Oh, Liara. I didn't like Liara in the first game. I grew to be okay with her in the later games, especially 3. I thought Liara was extremely naive and kind of annoying, and then she also like ninja-manced me, and that was kind of like, okay, I thought your hair was pretty or whatever the fuck I said. Like I think that's a Liliana line, not a Liara one. But Liara, I just said you looked nice today. I wasn't trying to flirt with you. Please calm down.
Let's be clear here. Ninja-mancing is a thing that happens in different RPGs, but Liara is the ultimate ninja-mancer. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one to say Liara-mancing, right? Isn't that a term that people have used before? Because she's the ultimate.
I would not be surprised about it.
When Liara romances you, it's like you don't even see it coming.
Yeah, it was blindsided. Like, I love you. I'm like, what?
I've had 5 conversations with you.
Yeah, I think I said I liked your shoes once. What the hell?
Like, I talked to Joker more than I talked to you.
Yeah, dude, what the hell? And like she just seemed kind of like the naive, like, oh, I'm gonna go change the world and go do all these cool things. I'm like, oh god. And but when she gets to be the shadow broker, I think that really helps her character to like actually be something. Mass Effect 1, I was not a fan. I was honestly not a fan. So I guess because of that, I'm for right now, I'm gonna rate her a 3.
Okay, yeah. Liara's an interesting one for me. I like her character in a manner of speaking. I think I might like the idea of the character more than I like the character.
Yeah.
There are interesting aspects to her. Her relationship with her mother, who is a major antagonist in the game, on paper is interesting. But the way that they actually handle it is really kind of shallow.
You know, now that you say that, I completely forgot her mother was even in this game. I remember more of her father, which was the weird barkeep.
That's a Mass Effect 2 thing, but you're right.
Yeah.
Also, Liara, similar to Tali and Garrus, but in a different way, is going to be rated higher in the other games for sure. But also I think she's just going to start generally lower in Mass Effect 1. I don't know. I just think the whole issue with her and her mom should have been given more depth, should have been given more time. You don't even have to bring her with you when you go to confront Benezia, and she'll say something about it, but it's all kind of wrapped up in one neat conversation after Noveria. And Liara is oddly, she has emotions over it, but she's just oddly detached from her mother. Which I guess could be, you could say that there's a reason for that, and her mother was always distant with her, etc. I guess. I just feel like they kind of pulled a punch there when they could have gone for something that was a lot more resonant. I'll give her a 4 overall. I think there's stuff that's there. I just don't think that they paid it off well enough. So I'll give her a 4. Gameplay-wise, I think she's a fucking awesome biotic. She's the only full-blown biotic you have. I think, unless your character specs out as an adept, I think she's the only one who gets Singularity. Which is really fucking fun to use.
I think everything eclipsed Liara for me, that I don't even think I brought her that much, so I don't even know what to rate her. I remember her being a good biotic, and if I needed a biotic, I would definitely bring her over Kaidan. So I guess I'm going to rate her 1 higher than Kaidan, whatever that was.
You rated Kaidan a 2 on gameplay.
So 3, here we go.
All right.
I'll be honest, I don't remember really liking the biotic seals that much. Just something about it was like, normally I'm totally into the weird magic stuff, but something like, I just wasn't a fan of the biotics in Mass Effect.
The Mass Effect has gotten so much better with the powers as each game has gone on. They've just gotten progressively more and more fun, to the point where all the flaws Mass Effect Andromeda has, if you want a game with guns and powers as a third-person game, I legitimately don't think I can offer you a better recommendation. Yeah. That's how good I think the powers have gotten. But I will say in Mass Effect 1, they feel a bit slow, a bit boaty, a bit just like they just kind of float out there. There's not enough oomph to them. I fucking love Liara's biotic abilities. When I think about how she ranks up gameplay-wise, though, against the others, God, it's interesting. Because she has such a specific specialty to it, but I don't know that she necessarily excels all the way through. This is very interesting for me. I know I can't go higher than a 5, but I'm considering just giving her a 4, which is interesting. The only reason why I'm going to give her a 4, and it's kind of crap in some sense, because it's not really just about her. It's more about this specific game. Uh-huh. Rex and Kaidan, you can get your biotics through them, and especially if you use biotics either as a Vanguard or a Sentinel or an Adept, like there's just so many other biotic options. The fact that she specializes is really her only major thing, and she's very squishy. She dies fast. Mm-hmm. Crap, do I really want to... Yeah, I'm going to give her a 4.
All right.
We did not specifically talk about her romance.
Yeah, we just said ninja-mance, or Liara-mance. I thought she was clingy. I felt she was clingy in like a weird way in the first game. Like when I was watching, that's what I remember of like watching her scenes. And I didn't like. I felt like there was kind of a damsel in distress element to it that I just wasn't fond of. So like, from watching scenes on YouTube, I feel like I wasn't a huge fan about it. To the point where like, I almost do feel like Liara is the true romance of the Mass Effect series, just because of Mass Effect 3 and how it's handled. But I probably would rate it not the best romance in Mass Effect 1, maybe.
She gets a lot better. Again, you make up a really good point about the latter games, which I guess we'll have to rate her on that in those games. Yeah. For Mass Effect 1, I don't know. It just kind of feels like there's not a lot of effort put into her to differentiate if you're going to go for a romance subplot in an RPG. She sure likes you an awful lot.
Yeah.
And that's about it. Like she's I guess if I really try, I can see the angle to it in the sense that like she's young, she's a bit naive, just generally, not even just in terms of romance. She's been living in dig sites for most of her adult life, which is quite short because she's a young adult as far as Asari are concerned. And you're a legendary figure, you're the first human Spectre, you're on this sort of big mission, and she's a bit enamored with you. But, you know, if you can make shit up, why don't you make up something more interesting than that? Because that's a little bit on the nose, and she just, your only real options are just kind of accept her overt attempts to sort of show you how much she likes you, or to sort of stiff arm her. And you have to stiff arm her hard to get her to go away. Like, you have to shut her down hard, otherwise you end up in a romance with her. I'll give it a 3.
What did I give Kaidan?
You gave Kaidan a 3 on romance. Oh, fuck. I also gave him a 3 on romance.
That's what I was saying. Like,
I gotta give her a 2.
I was about to say the exact same thing. Like, it's 1 lower than Kaidan. I'll be honest, I didn't really like any of the Mass Effect romances.
You know, and I'm actually looking at how we rated them. Neither one of us was through the roof on them. You know, I actually kind of had to think about this even more. Let's zoom out even more. All of Mass Effect, all of Dragon Age.
See, I really don't like the Mass Effect 1 romances, so I stick by my numbers. If anything, I probably should rate them lower.
That's what I'm saying. Like, is there a potential that Liara's a 1?
I wouldn't go that far because I didn't hate it. You know, it was just kind of.
Yeah. Like I know who I'm giving a 1 to for romance, and I know you're gonna give him a 1 as far as all of the games. But I'm not gonna say who it is. But I guess I'll stick with the 2.
Okay, I'm sticking with the 2 too.
Let's talk about the execution on this, because I feel like it's a real mixed bag. In that, personally, I don't know if you'll agree with this. Dialogue's not very hot, but Ali Hillis does a very competent job.
While I'll agree, I think Mass Effect 1's Ali Hillis was a bit clunky, and she definitely grew into the role. And there's something about like the quality of the performance, which I don't think is her fault. I think it was the direction that I was never super fond of. Like, she's always like this, like shit, a little too breathy for me. I think Ali Hillis is great. Like, I love her Scout Harding. I think she did great Volta. But something about just like the breathiness of Liara just kind of I'm not a fan of it. And I definitely think it definitely, the confidence in the character wasn't there in Mass Effect 1. So like, I guess I would give it like a middle of the road 4.
Okay, so you're going for a 4.
Yeah.
You know, you are right about a little bit of like the breathiness, and that she's just sort of, she sounds like windswept and just sort of like, yes. I'm so happy to be here, Shepard. And also, like, it compounds with the romance thing of just like, I just happen to find you so interesting, Commander Shepard. Like, it's very, it is a little bit of damsel in distress. If that's what they asked for, I mean, you can't fault Ali Hillis. She crushes it as far as giving what was asked. I don't know. I'm not sold on it. I like the fact that she was able to deliver something unique, and it's not like a bunch of other Asari sound like her. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. I'm hard pressed. I'm having a hard time finding ammunition to offer anything more than a 4. So I'm gonna go ahead and agree with you on a 4.
All right. So with that, that's it, right? That's all.
Holy crap, that is everyone. I guess let me go ahead and tally them up and let's figure out what kind of ranking we have here.
I will wait patiently.
Okay, I think we're all set to go here.
All right. So, what's the lowest? Do you want me to guess?
Well, I guess should we just do like real quick? I mean, there's only 3 romance options. So
what's the best?
And we know who didn't win. So Liara did not win for romance.
I'm surprised. Okay.
She's obviously last. And then technically, Kaidan was neither of our favorite as far as the romance. And so then technically Ashley is the best romance, but that's really just because you didn't rate Ashley and I rated her 5. So she kind of.
Yeah, she. I don't mind that though. Like from what I know, she might have been one of the better choices. So I think that's fair.
I think we both agree. All of the romances for Mass Effect really get better later on.
Yeah, I really didn't. I did not feel like I was missing anything, not romancing anybody.
Liara certainly gets a lot better. It does still kind of feel like she's slotted in as the option, but she gets better. Kaidan and Ashley, whichever one survives, gets better. So there you go. Mass Effect 1 romances, they're okay. Mm-hmm. Do you want to take a guess? We'll go lowest to highest. Do you want to take a guess at who ranked last?
I'm going to guess Liara.
So that's why I had to double check, because I was like, oh, it's Liara, right? No, it's not Liara.
Oh, God. Kaidan?
It is Kaidan. Kaidan came in depth. And I will say, I tried to stick up for my boy. I love you, Kaidan. But you know what got him was the fucking gameplay. Because we both rated him as basically crap. And that's a real problem, is that he is a tough sell on gameplay. Mm-hmm. Very few advantages and just plenty of disadvantages. So Kaidan comes in last. Liara is second to last. Pretty close. But she is second to last. Do you want to know who's coming in middle of the pack? We could say fourth from the top or third last. I mean, it should be pretty obvious,
Ashley?
Right? Yep, it's Ashley, because the other 3 we quite liked.
Yeah.
And it's funny, too, because there's a significant gap between the bottom 3 and the top 3. Uh-huh. Even though I liked Ashley, I think it's just... she comes in a bit lower than the other ones. I don't know if there was anything in specifically that killed her. It was just sort of like medium scores across the board. So that's Ashley. Do you have a guess at who came in next? Because now's where it starts to get close. I will tell you that.
I actually think Tali might be next.
You are correct and wrong at the same time. So it is. I'm gonna just give the top 3 right now. So okay. Rex won, and Garrus and Tali tied.
Oh, really?
And it was super close. It was very, very close between all of them. So basically, it's almost like Garrus, Tali, Rex all won. Because it was a margin of 1. Like, Rex just kind of snuck it out.
Oh, man. I would agree with that, though. Because I do feel like especially Mass Effect 1, the aliens minus Liara were the best part of Mass Effect. So, yeah, I completely... I stand by that. I think that's... I don't think anyone got robbed like Severin did.
Kaidan got a rough deal, man. Kaidan...
I think he deserves it. I don't know.
If I had to rank them, I would rank Kaidan higher than Liara, but that's just me. I can totally see the overall view on Kaidan. I can kind of get it. But yeah, very close between Garrus, Rex, and Tali, which you kind of expect. Those are kind of the 3 ones that everyone always talks about. And I can see people shuffling that top 3 order however they want. I will say my incredible love for Rex's gameplay probably helped him here. But be that as it may.
Well, all right. That took a lot less time than the Dragon Age characters.
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot to say about the Dragon Age characters.
There's also like twice as many characters, or not twice as many, but pretty close.
There is also the fact that like we cut ourselves off and stopped ourselves from talking about Mass Effect 2 and 3 iterations of these characters because they will actually appear in those games. Whereas with Dragon Age Origins, we sort of talked about Morrigan throughout the series because...
She doesn't come back.
She doesn't come back as a companion in 2 or Inquisition, so I think that also extended out the length. But yeah, with that, I think we covered our bases. unless you have anything else to add, Caitie, where can folks find you?
You can find me as Ghildirthalen on YouTube and Twitter. And what about you, Jordan?
The people can find me under the Exalted March on YouTube, Instagram, Reddit, and Twitter, and that's it.
Cool. Yeah, Duress-Chiral, goodbye. I forgot how we ended this for like a hot second.
Duress-Chiral.
Goodbye.